Hello and welcome to the Digital Voices panel at Cannes. We're here to talk with some of the brightest people we know in influence marketing, all about how you know your influence marketing is working. So, to cut straight to the chase, could you introduce yourself, your job title, and say how you work with influencers in your role? Lucretica, do you want to start?
Yes, happy to start. Hi, my name is Lucretica. I'm the head of creator marketing for Amazon in Europe. And so we as Amazon have an Amazon influencer program where we enable creators to monetize their content, so they can, promote anything that they like on Amazon, and we help them amplify this as well via a lot of different products and placements on Amazon.
And hello, I'm Neil. I'm commercial director at Licked, which is a music licensing platform for creators. And a lot of our influencer marketing is very much driven towards creators who use better music to make better content and how they can get that message out to other creators. So I think our influencer marketing is a bit different to others in that it's not a consumer product. Our audience are also the influencers. So we need to find the right creators who can get that right message out and have a really engaged audience of creators as well.
Hi, I'm Upasna Roy, and I'm the Global Director of Creative Strategy at Reckitt. And I look at the Creative Effectiveness Program essentially globally, and that means influencers as well. I think it's an untapped source of creative effectiveness today, and it's something that I'm really excited about. We're going to launch some interesting stuff in the future, so looking forward to it.
Hi, I am Max. I'm the founder of a company called This That. We are the brand measurement solution for influencer marketing, very much evolving market research, the needs of advertising on our wider mission to make marketing enjoyable. We help influencers prove their true impact in brand, and we have insights to elevate the industry.
Brilliant. So definitely a variety from like different types of customers, different types of influencer strategies, different KPIs. What's the core KPI you look at in your influence marketing?
I think we look at different things. Obviously, we're an affiliate, program. So influencers earn commission. Not only influencers, creators actually earn commissions on sales. So we will look at sales. But I think, overall, we need to be better at understanding also like how to track brand awareness, how to track the full funnel. Because we know that, influencer marketing is not just the conversion. It's also educating your consumers, your audience, and bringing awareness. But yeah, on our side, we do track conversion.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Like the key KPI for me is still a high value customer who comes in and has a long lifetime value. Like we have a bunch of internal measurements on positive activation behaviors for customers when they sign up to Licked. And influence marketing has to drive that just as much as performance marketing for me. So that's still what we look at as a startup. It's so important for us to drive new customers. So it can't just be a brand awareness piece.
I think it's a loaded question, first of all. It's been like forever that we've been asking these questions, but I've been in FMCG for like the longest time that I can remember, right? And one of our biggest issues have always been full funnel, measurement and stuff like that. But I think when it comes to influencer marketing, one of the things that we've learned early on is to go back to your strategy to see what exactly are you trying to drive, and then tailor what is actually required to be driven through that activation. Because top of the funnel versus mid funnel to lower funnel, you will obviously have different ways of measuring that success. We don't have a way to connect everything. I don't think anybody has. But even if you look at it in isolation for a top funnel versus a mid funnel versus a lower funnel, I think that's the mindset that we have currently. So yeah.
I'm glad I came last. I can have some try. I'm going to try and connect those dots. With our sort of ambition to evolve market research needs of advertising, I'm listening to these kinds of answers quite a lot. Something that we're trying to do is bridge the gap between brand measurement and performance measurement, because those are really the sort of two pillars of how you could easily position marketing in those two pillars. I was at a panel not long ago where a CEO of an agency was saying, if you speak to a CMO more than once a quarter, you're doing a bad job. And I thought that was quite an interesting perspective. they then challenged him, why is that? And he was saying that if you a CMO is looking to invest into their brand, right, and hitting performance targets helps them hit the revenue targets, have that budget for the next year to keep doing that. So if you're speaking to CMO more than once a quarter, it's probably because you're not doing good enough of the job and they're getting involved in the tactics to make sure you hit the performance. But the brand world and the performance world speak completely different languages, and that's why it is a loaded question and it becomes very overwhelming. So what we're trying to do is build something that brings those together, one unit that sort of answers those. Quite solving it, have we done that yet? Not quite there yet, but one thing that we're bringing to the market is brand lift. We've been doing this for the last couple of years, but from people that have actually seen it across all different channels in the real world. And doing so, you now have these lift metrics of how many people have become aware, shifted perceptions, changed behaviors, all these things, stuff that you could pick up in creative effectiveness, for instance, as well. But now, because you've got all these different touch points, and you also have the reach metrics, and maybe also the sales metrics, you can start doing some interesting maths to be able to say, how much does it cost to shift a perception with 1,000 people? How much does it cost to get 1,000 people to buy the product? All of that. So we're trying to build a unit that does all of that speaking, basically making brand measurable like performance.
So how much does it cost?
How much does it cost is the question. I mean, there's a range. Yeah.
And that is actually a great question. Is we very much are on the upper end of cost right now, but we've got a great roadmap looking to make it accessible. We want to have our solutions on every single campaign. The mission is to make marketing enjoyable, and our way of doing that is to make market research enjoyable for advertisers, so they can make ads enjoyable for consumers.
And you'll notice you've all kind of been chosen on this panel for the sneaky reason that hopefully you noticed, is that I think a lot of influencer programs and influencer agencies have just been looking at like top of funnel metrics. And they've been turning to a brand like, oh, it got this many impressions. Why don't you want to work with this creator again? And you turn around to your internal teams or your commercial teams and you're like, because we have, that's not even in our KPIs. That's not how we're measuring it. There's no there's no even quantified brand change, let alone a lower funnel metric. So what we've been trying to do is to get, hello pigeon, sorry. What we've been trying to do, it's bold. What we've been trying to do at Digital Voices is to get our partners, our client partners, to share those that lower funnel data so that we can actually start working in tandem with them. And we've actually today just launched a tool called Composer, which takes all our AI insights from the last 7 years of campaigns and uses essentially Google Gemini to predict which creators are going to drive the best results, which verticals, which platforms. So we're using it as like an internal planning tool. If brands aren't sharing that data with us, we can't do that work. And I think a lot of influencer agencies don't want to have that difficult conversation with brands to get the data.
No, but I think it's true. Like there's so many agencies today, right? That are selling to marketers, hey, you need to do influencer marketing, and then they're going to look at following, and they're going to look at how cool the content is, which is completely subjective, and they're going to say, hey, you need to work with that person because that person is so cool. But the reality is, I do believe, of course, at Amazon, we believe a lot into the data, and I think like when you're running any kind of campaign, even if it's a brand awareness campaign, the power is looking into the data to understand like how to cast the right influencers. And historical data is the only way you can really do that, right? So either you have those historical data or you need to ask the creators to share those with you.
I don't know why it's a hard conversation to have between an agency and a brand to share some of that data.
I love you.
Like, surely if you're a brand, you want to share as much information as possible on what's important to you, so that you get the best out of your agency that you're working with, would be my opinion.
What I've realized sometimes is we don't really get a clarity of objective on sharing data sometimes. And probably that's the reason why it ends up becoming a data dump, which is not really going to be useful at all. So I think it goes both ways. Like you have to have that partnership. You should have the trust with your agency to be able to share what's required. But at the same time, the agency should be able to give a nice direction to them to say, this is the kind of data that's going to help you do X, Y, Z.
And this is what I love that. And this is how I'm going to use it, because you're right. A lot of influencer agencies also haven't invested in data analysts or data teams. So you end up with an agency that like, if you give the data,
give me everything.
They'll be like, cool, here's the same list we sent you before.
At the same time, I think you have brands that want to do everything at the same time as well, right? They're like, I want brand awareness, I want conversion, I want traffic. And I think they're not clear enough on what they actually want. And you can't deliver everything.
Honestly, it's interesting. Sometimes we get brief templates filled in and it's like, what's your key objective? And it's like brand awareness, conversion. And we're like, no, we literally said pick one.
Because you don't cast the same way, right? Like you're not going to look at the same metrics ultimately. And I think there is still more education to do. You were asking why our brands not sharing, etc. I think there is still a lot of education to do around how to work really with creators, how to work with agencies, and how to best connect, because it's in everyone's interest to have like one objective to cast very clearly based on one metric, and then you're able to say if it was successful or not, right?
Pasana, you talked about segmenting,
Yeah.
so having different strategies for different areas of the funnel. Can you elaborate on that? And I think Max probably has something to say on it as well.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest struggles that most brand marketing teams would end up having, choosing that one objective. If you're doing top funnel, that basically means you have to commit yourself to the top funnel and look at everything through the lens of top funnel, everything through the lens of mid funnel. So we do a lot of upskilling programs internally, like to your point, to really educate our brand teams to say, if you're looking for a certain type of outcome in that part of the funnel, you have to be quite laser focused in what those KPIs are, what are the kind of relationships you're driving with the consumer in that piece. And also at the end of the day, what kind of creative effect that you're trying to drive in that part of the funnel. So those would be the three that we typically look for. And it is an uphill battle because it's quite different. It comes across as, why can't I do this and that both? So it's with any other marketing medium, we just have to keep that focus and keep doing it, essentially.
You must feel like the teacher trying to regulate people's behavior, like global brands,
your
global
global
teams,
function, right?
multiple brands. It's insane. Go on, Max.
I love how you said it's difficult to try and do this and that. I went, or this, that.
Plug.
You're very on the run.
Yeah.
I told you I was allowed, so here we go. Lean in.
We at this that have a mantra of do better, and something that we do with that is you shouldn't just look to measure the success of your campaign. So yes, a client can come to you with a clear objective, and they should, awareness or sales. But when it comes to measurement, you should look to make sure you measure the success of what happened, but also to get the insight to optimize the what next. And so if you're doing an awareness campaign or if you're doing a conversion campaign, we would still make sure that within the brand lift solution, we are capturing full funnel metrics. And the way in which we capture that data, the respondents answer all questions, so we can do full funnel attribution. And clients actually often Meta, one of our clients, actually describes us more of a go-to-market tool, which I found quite interesting. So they might come to us for an awareness campaign, but they know that they're going to get insights to then drive the conversion campaign in the next one. So yeah, very important to have a clear objective. But when it comes to measurement, do better, understand what's happening and what next.
I find this is really interesting, again, with like a lot of other influence marketing agencies where they're waiting to be RFP'd. So often it's like they're RFP'd for one campaign. They're like, here are the impressions and here are the results. Here's the reach. And then they're waiting to be RFP'd again. And so to me, it's an issue not just of like data, but it's an issue of client servicing. Because it's like, if you're not doing annual planning with your clients, if you're not doing quarterly business reviews, you don't really know what their priorities are. So you can't proactively suggest ideas. And also RFPs are really long and expensive and like arduous processes. Shocking, eh? Not just for the agencies. I don't think I've met anyone who works at a brand who's like, God, I can't wait for the next RFP process. So it's like, how do you actually, you're right, get all the data so you can plan for the long term, so you can optimize and suggest in all these different directions. Okay, so I want to stick at top of the funnel and then we have lower funnel questions, which I think this is like nicely arranged. So there's been a bit of a resurgence of earned media value as a metric. What do you think of, which do you think are the strongest top of the funnel metrics? And yeah, how would you use them? What do you think of earned media value as a metric?
Also loaded question.
Just so I was going to put you on here with Creator IQ and have you fight, but I thought I'd just let you say your piece instead.
I think there's definitely value to earned media value. The value would be to simplify the conversation for the CFOs. Right? They might not have the context of understanding how marketing works, and they don't have the time necessarily to understand how it works. And the beauty of that is they can say, I gave you a budget of 100K and you've earned me 200K worth of earned media value. Well done, you've got budget to go again. The problem that we're seeing, and this kind of ties back to the do better, is we just know it's not enough. We know that it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's vanity metrics. I mean, we've had multiple studies where you've had great earned media value with different elements of the campaign, but one of them actually had terrible negative shifts of behaviors and made people no longer want to buy, no longer recommend, and actually move their loyalty to other customers, to other brands, whilst the other elements of the campaign had a better impact. And so it's bewildering that people would lean on that, but I also understand the pain is they don't necessarily have the time, and so they have to operate quick. So in the essence of doing better, we have to get better at communicating this is the one unit that you need. And so that's what we're trying to do with full funnel brand lift measurement across every campaign that we're doing.
I think earned media value is also endorsement, right? Like it's, for me, it's also more of a PR almost metric that we're looking at. But I agree it should be in addition to. What we look at Amazon is, as I think like the top, feedback on how the campaign is performing is voice of the customer. So understanding really like your community and the impact, whether it's on the actual customer or on the creator itself or on your community, I think like voice of the customer and feedback that you're receiving is one of the top metrics that you can look at in terms of upper funnel.
So do you do that through comment sentiment analysis? Is that how you're doing it?
Via it can be like direct surveys as well. It can be like gathering feedback on looking at the reviews. It could be the comments. There's several ways for us to do that, but I think like it really essentially gives you the honest feedback of either your community or the creators that you're working with, and I think that it enables you to make changes on a strategy, whatever that is, or on a campaign.
I actually didn't ask you to say this, didn't ask you to bring this up, but Compose are one of the features that we've integrated, because we were having humans on our team go through every single comment and manually rank, is this positive, does it mention the brand, is it negative, is it neutral? And it takes a lot of time. Also, it's kind of a fallible metric, a fallible way of doing it, but NLP programs weren't at the place where you could AI categorize, and now it's so much better. So we have AI categorizes the content, and you can include like misspellings of the brand, etc. And then it all has to be approved as yes, positive, neutral, or negative by a human. So there's still a human that goes through it, but then that data is like essentially regulated. And even on our team, on our tools, it says, Arthur approved this. So if Arthur's got it wrong, you're like, Arthur, did you even read what that said?
Arthur.
Poor Arthur.
Always Arthur.
It actually, and we trialed it recently on a Swedish campaign, and it we didn't think languages other than English would do well, and it spotted positive and negative sentiment in Swedish, and we were like, okay, AI has come so much further than we thought it was. But I definitely think that's where you need to pull so much insight from actually what the consumers are saying.
Looking forward to using it.
Cool. Look at me.
Because our team call it thematic analysis, I think. That basically comment analysis and seeing what the feeling is around two things, both the brand for us, seeing what people think about Licked and any kind of integrations we're doing, but also our integrations are all about showing how using better music improves your content. So trying to pull out comments, anything that mentions the music or the artist that have been used is really useful.
Neil isn't endorsing himself enough, but like Mr. Beast uses Licked, which is
Very cool.
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast.
He does
Yeah,
use it.
I would love any comment that mentions music like Mr. Beast. Great. I'm passing the top of funnel, then we'll go straight to you, Max.
So top of funnel, I think, all right, let me take a step back, because I think we have to do a better job as marketeers, to your point, to figure out which vanity metrics to pull back on. Even if that means you won't be able to tell your story to senior leadership. I mean, there's a big gap between reach and impression. We know that, right? And if we continue to go down that route of, oh, it's just going to be a pitch to my senior leadership because they're going to get it, you are automatically digging yourself into a pit that you're not going to be able to get out of later. So I would rather take the time, even if it takes 100 rounds, go for that. Be brave in those choices. And I've learned that the hard way in my career. But I would rather actually have that time and patience, invest in that relationship with the senior person to tell them why it's a vanity metric and why you should not be looking at it. So
I love that.
that would be my take on it. And if I had to pick out, I won't be able to pick out a favorite metric, to be honest, but I have an ideal metric in mind, right? I'm a big believer of mental availability as a driver of creative effectiveness. I would love to see us get to a point where we can actually tap in the mental availability that the creator economy drives for brands. And that's essentially where the ideal scenario of this path would lead to. So hopefully we'll get there with some of the amazing work that we are doing in
Did you
measurement.
say mental availability?
Yeah.
How do you view that? What is that to you?
So mental availability is basically how is your brand being associated by your consumers top of mind. So in discretionary categories like FMCG, you would grow through frequent buyers essentially, right? And you would essentially need lots of people who don't know you very well and don't buy you very often to buy you and to choose you every single time. And the way you do that is by building mental availability. So first to mind and first to find are the two principles that
I
we
love
use.
that.
So influencers have a huge power of persuasion for first to mind, but we aren't able to really crack that metric. So I think that's going to be the future, at least for the FMCG brands. I feel like that's a game changer.
That's really clever. There's a piece about creator paid ads that we can talk about later, but go on, Max. It's okay, we can keep one like that side.
So
Just switch. Go on.
this is going to be more of a question for you guys. You-
Session hosted
the,
by Max.
the question came around sort of top of funnel, what's the right thing to measure, and what do we think about earned media value? And we speak about how if you're rushing in that direction, you're digging yourself into a pit. I love what you said about sort of, what was the exact words you used? Mental availability. With earned media value, mixed media models, we're all optimizing towards the media model, right? It's because we've got loads of data and that and standardized, and that makes it easy for people to then use, and that's why it's being adopted. What about the brand model? What about an earned brand value? What if we could have metrics that measure exactly what you're saying? What if we could have metrics that told you exactly the value of your campaign when you were driving top funnel things, but how that attributes to lifetime value that you're talking about, or to sales, right? What would you guys think about a metric such as earned brand value, and what would you like to see in that?
It makes loads of sense because we always talk about how even top of funnel activity must drive, or even lower funnel must drive some brand value as well and brand awareness, even if your campaign isn't targeted at that. The thing I would ask back, actually, and maybe this is just a licked problem, when you talk about brand perception and trying to say change perception, one of the challenges we've had is that we're actually trying to change the perception of an industry as the only place you can now license commercial music for YouTube creators, whereas they've been told for the last 10, 15 years, avoid commercial music at all costs because you lose all of your revenue. So it's almost like I would want to measure not only the brand perception change, but also the shift in perception around what you can actually do now and how we've changed the industry perception rather than just the brand perception.
Yeah. The question.
Yeah, I think there's two things to that. The first one is, yes, definitely we want to understand the brand value, right? Like we want to understand creating content in its essence is upper funnel brand awareness. What's the cost of this brand awareness? But I think there is also, especially when it comes to affiliate for the creators, like we're losing also some kind of attribution in the end, right? Because you're clicking on a link and you're not necessarily buying straight away. Especially, I think it's very different in different marketplaces, right? Like in the US, consumers might be like, yeah, they're buying it, done. But when it comes to European consumers,
Germany.
very different. When it comes to different segments as well, right? Like Gen Z. We were talking yesterday about how Gen Z actually influenced their parents, right? So how do you, they're not necessarily clicking and purchasing, they're also like sharing the link to someone else. So I think like, yes, there is definitely the part on brand awareness and how do we measure that and how do we give a value to that. And then there is also the how do we fully attribute, everything back to the creators.
Yeah, this has been really interesting because a few brands, and I've seen a few agency partners do it, but also seen multiple brands we work with do it, where they have actually measured the halo effect, so turned off influencer marketing and measured the halo effect. And they found that they were missing 40% of conversions. And the brand that did this best had the smoothest conversion journey I've ever seen. It was literally you go to one page tailored to the influencer. There is one button, click to buy, or like you can scroll down, go to the homepage. All the talking points are there, custom discount code. So if they are losing 40%, if they are not capturing that 40%, I can't imagine how a brand that's a more traditional brand or an FMCG brand like CPG could
exactly measure anything. Yeah,
How do you
of
measure
course.
that true halo effect? I think it's a really, really smart point. Awesome. Pasna, do you have a thought, a response to Max's question of?
I completely echo with what she's saying. I mean, absolutely. I don't think I have anything additional to add, but we would be looking at, I mean, brand value is attractive for everybody, but again, it's within the means of what it means for that attribution model, I think is going to be quite interesting. And if you crack that, then yeah.
Okay, if there was one metric that you could burn, put in from 101, never have come back, what metric would it be? I've got one, so I'll say mine at the end. Views.
It means absolutely nothing. Like you've kind of paid for them up front when you see the creator and how many views they get, but particularly for us, views means absolutely nothing.
But that's the media model, right?
It is, you're right.
And it's actually what a lot of influencer agencies push first.
Millions of views.
I think it's like kind of like brands are still investing into media, into TV ads, into billboards, etc. So for me, it wouldn't be views necessarily, because I still believe that your content is being seen by consumers. So it might have an effect, even though you're not necessarily purchasing or clicking. Like I do believe that it might influence you. Followers. This is the one It's just for me it doesn't mean anything, and I think we're very much aligned on this.
Potential reach. If I ever have to see potential reach in a deck, which is just an addition
I
of
agree.
all the follower numbers, I'm like, oh my
What
god,
does it
my
mean?
brain has fallen out of my ears.
But if you want to work with celebrities, that's another story. I think we need to differentiate that, because like there is working with celebrities that have a huge community, like they're super engaged, that is going to buy or do whatever the celebrity is doing. I think that's very different. But then I think there is like a fine line into macro and following and like what it should bring. So I think I would get rid of that. I would say like look at the engagement rate, look at the conversion rate, start looking into like a bit behind, because you might have like 10 million followers, 15 million followers. You might have bots. I know it's going to be very, very controversial, but a lot of people have bot fake followers at some points. It doesn't mean that, they're not talking to their audience, but it might be true as well. And you might have an engagement rate which is very poor, and people are not going to buy, because it also depends on what you're talking about, right? You have creators that are just posting about their lifestyle and where they go on holiday, and they might not be product focused at all. So I think like for me, follower is like just look at other metrics.
Hearing all this, it comes to me to just, you have to have metrics that actually mean something. Right? Like, what does an eyeball mean? What does it mean to have followers? That's almost like a leading indicator that you might have reach. And then views is like the result of all of that, right? Going to like the origin growth of that, it was proving the value of an eyeball of influencer versus other channels. That was sort of brand lift, or people that actually seen the campaign. Brand lift is sort of an apples to apples solution that all different brands use in different channels. And I find that like the opportunities of evolving the space is so cool there. Like when you've got the lift metrics at a specific touch point of the specific creators, and you've got those reach metrics, you can multiply those and actually have something meaningful. So rather than saying we reached 1 million people and we lifted awareness by 20%, you could say 200,000 people have become aware. And then you can start saying, of those people, X many people have shifted the perception from X to Y. And because of that, they're now buying the product and they're recommending it. That actually has meaning.
But you're paying for it. Sorry, I need to talk about the views, because you're paying for content, right? If you're paying for content to be viewed by people.
You're paying for it.
Exactly, you're paying for impact. But if you're paying for that content, the basic assumption is you're going to get views. So it cannot be a measure of success, because that's like the most underlying basic thing that you're expecting from it. And you can put paid media behind anything and it'll get views, right?
Because creator paid ads are the product we're seeing the most demand for in 2024 in terms of like really rapidly growing demand. Brands wanting creators to produce assets they don't even post. But the measurement on that often slips between teams as well. So there isn't necessarily a way the influencer team are getting credit for the extra ROI they're driving.
So we're doing creator ads with Amazon, and we're actually using the creators' links. So we're using their personalized URLs, we're using their links, and they're getting the credit for that. And I think that's, for me, that's the way, when I say we need to attribute the success to a campaign to the creators, I really believe that it's also part of it, right? It's like wherever the content of your creator is posted, they should get the attribution. And I think that's where it's super beneficial, because it means that you're investing money towards your creators, making sure that they're, pushed and their content is amplified.
And I would say that probably gives more affinity for the creator to you as a brand as well. If they know they're getting that attribution, they know they're getting the recognition. It makes them, like, I think the best campaigns are the ones where the brand and the creator are actually working closely together. It's not just a kind of pay and dump like that. And so that would make that work better.
For sure, yeah. And absolutely, I think it's not a transactional relationship, right? So at the end of the day, you are trying to build that relationship that goes a little bit beyond what you just pay for a campaign and get it done with. Love that, by the way, that you get that really clever. And I think having an attribution model like that is really going to be game changing. Essentially, it gives the confidence to creators that they get what they are actually supposed to be delivering on, and financial security for them as well. And it's very representative, I think, that way.
And this happens lots, actually. A creator will be run in a set of ads, and their audience will see it and message the creator like, did you know Amazon's using you in ads? As though the audience expects something nefarious is happening. And it's really helpful if the creator can be like, yeah, and actually I'm winning from that too.
Exactly.
Because I think there's often this like false dichotomy of the brand is evil, and you're like, the brand is not like taking the creator and using them in ads all the time. It's like without their permission. So I think there's like a really nice kind of accountability and community piece there.
I agree that like today, when we're seeing it when we're talking about Amazon creator ads, a lot of creators are like, no, I don't want my content to be used in ads, because there's so many brands that took content from creators, they're pushing it on whatever social media, and creator has no kind of like, they don't know where it is, and they have like, they don't receive any commission. So of course they want to negotiate use fee, because they're like, I don't know where it's going to be used, how long, etc., and I'm not getting anything. I think like making sure that you're using the right the link of your creator and just like attributing them the sales is a way for you to work long term with that influencer and to really build that trust and community with them.
I think this is fantastic. I'm just going to pose another sort of challenge within all of this. Bring you back to the do better.
We're ready.
So the more we grow as this, the more challenges I see. It's kind of that sort of uncanny valley. We came into the market with brand lift of people that have actually seen the ads in the real world. Brand lift typically is something that's been used to test creative and targeting, similar language to creative effectiveness. We've noticed that there is, in the evolution of advertising, a third dimension, which is distribution. And with creator ads, we've seen some really interesting results, which are that you have to be careful when you use the creator content on the brand handle, amplify it, versus when you do it on the creator's handle, amplify it with their own audiences. Like one campaign comes to mind where it was a big YouTube group in the UK, probably all know of them, and a sort of old school board game that they were trying to help promote. Their organic content on their own page worked very, very well. When they amplified it with their own audiences, worked very, very well. When they then took that content and then put it onto the brand handle and amplified it with their audience, it had a devastating negative impact. Like really, really bad. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear how you guys take upon that challenge.
We've had interesting instances where we've used creators in paid, and you put them to an audience where you haven't safety checked that audience, or where it's a brand handle and you get really negative responses. And we've actually spoken with creators and been like, how do you want us to handle this? Because I think the worst thing you can do is leave them alone in silence.
Yeah.
I think silence or like pulling back is the worst thing to do, because then it stops you presenting underrepresented groups and putting them in ads. It makes you scared to do it, makes the brand team scared to do it, and I think that has a really bad knock-on effect. So I think if you diversify your assets enough, you probably won't have that issue. And also if you have a brand planned response that's like, hey, we're working with this person because X.
Yeah.
And the right targeting, right? Like when you're pushing ads, you need to make sure that you're targeting the right audience. So I think it's yeah, it's a lot to do with like brand safety, targeting. I think the only thing I would say on pushing ads on the creator handle directly, what I've heard a lot is creators not being sure. Like it's managed by them, so they need a lot of support in order to do that. And so you need to be able to give that kind of like one by one support to the creator, which might not be the easiest thing to do if you want to scale.
Yeah, the agency team has to like handhold a lot for that, and we do it because it's worth it, but it does mean you have to have a lot of resources and time put into the creator. Gonna end with this because I know we're short on time. What is one thing you're really excited for in influencer marketing and measurement in the next 12 months?
Bridging the gap between brand measurement and performance measurement, making brand measurable like performance marketing.
Connected to brand equity metrics. So mental availability, I know a lot of people are working on it, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
I'm going to do a sales pitch because I'm not going to talk about measurement, but we have just launched a platform that enables brands to license commercial music in partnership with Universal for short form video platforms and influencers that they work with, which has been a problem for a long time. Companies like Gymshark and Bang Energy being sued for a lot of money for illegal use of music. And we know how important using music is in short form video for engagement. So we have just launched that platform. It's why I'm here. It's called Globe Social Sync Platform. Long term, it will be called Licked for Brands, and we'll have all the music labels on it. But for now, it's launched. We've got some UK repertoire. We're expanding to US catalog. There's some big names on the platform, and so we're excited to. And I think it will be really important for influencer marketing and brands to have access to the music they want to use in an easy way.
That's great.
I'm going to say something that we haven't heard yet. The metrics I'm the most excited about is earnings.
Earnings.
Yeah. Driving more earnings for creators. And that comes via a lot of different things, right? Like launching more exciting products for them, giving them more visibility, more placements on site at Amazon, but elsewhere as well. But that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking forward to increasing the earnings of our community and our creators specifically. And I think like that's when you realize that we have one of the most amazing job. It's like, especially for the Amazon Influencer Program, we exist to make sure that we're helping more people quit their 9 to 5 and live from what they love.
Yeah, we are shaping what the future of entrepreneurship looks like. It's perfect. It's brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thanks for joining us on the beach at Cannes.